Hey, this is Rich Peterson of 3 Max Gold out here in American Canyon, and welcome to the Peterson Report for January 20th, 2023. Welcome to a new year full of new things and lots of surprises. And then first, to those in the know, because if you know, you know, yeah, that's stupid saying, Happy Lunar New Year. This is the year of the rabbit according to the Chinese zodiac calendar. And according to ChineseNewYear.net, rabbits tend to be exceedingly polite and try to avoid conflict, which likely explains why neither of my sons are rabbits. But it is also important to note that while the Chinese New Year is the most widely recognized Lunar New Year celebration, it is by no means the only country in Southeast Asia or the rest of the world that operates on a lunar calendar, and will be celebrating New Year over the next couple of weeks. And so Happy New Year to all of you who are looking forward and not behind no matter where you are. Layoffs continue throughout the industry and the world, and Alphabet, Google's parent company, got into the act earlier this week. This is just another sign that the economy is slowing down, and apparently that's a good thing. I've been reading reports this week that it really looks like the Fed is looking more at a 25 basis point hike rather than the 75 and 50 point hikes we've been seeing for the last year, because inflation is down to about 5%, and their goal is to get inflation down to about 3%. So whatever their programs are working. And my gut is telling me that 2023 is going to be a solid year for real estate. Not crazy, but solid. Although it's going to take a little while for the market in the Solano-Napa region to heat up. Sales prices will be on par with where we were pre-pandemic, with slight increases, 1 to 3% in the late spring, early summer. I was listening to Mike Simonton with Altos Data, the leading real estate data firm in the country, earlier this week. And he said that based on the data that he's been seeing, 5.5% mortgage rate seems to be a gateway to affordability. Anything above that, demand for mortgages drops precipitously. Anything below that, and the floodgates start to open again. That's precisely why a slowing economy is good, because they typically, not always, but slower economies typically lead to lower interest rates. I don't know if that will be the case this time, but based on historical data, there's a pretty good chance. The one thing that Simonton did say was that there is no data that suggests that there is going to be a flood of homes coming to market in the near future. And the local numbers really bear this out. As we start the year, new listings are down almost 40% in the North Bay. And active inventory, though, is up 8% year over year. The good news is that the rate of price drops has been decelerating over the past few months. Currently, only about 35% of homes that are actively on the market have had a price drop. This implies that agents have been successful at educating sellers about where the market is and where it is likely headed. All good stuff. One statistic of note, 81% of purchasers between spring 2020 through the beginning of 2022 seem to have buyer's remorse. They felt like they spent too much on a home that they didn't really want. Ironically, though, despite their unhappiness, these potential sellers aren't feeling like they need to sell right now. Is it because they're feeling like they got such a good rate that they don't want to take a chance? Is it because they're worried about losing money on reselling their home? Like maybe they think that they're underwater? During the pandemic, the issue was that there wasn't enough inventory. So at a certain point, we need to start asking ourselves and potential sellers, what really is the issue? There is some good news. Actually, there's a lot of good news on the housing front, and in particular, new construction. New starts rose 11% in December. This is extremely good news as realtors and policymakers increasingly look to new builds and ADUs to help round out inventory. Additionally, the national home builder sentiment rose up for the first time in a year. It's up 4 points. And so every little bit counts. Taken independently, each stat is kind of like But put those two together and there's reason for a little more optimism. And then add in that the Fannie Mae Home Purchaser Sentiment Index, i.e., is it a good time to buy? It rose for the second straight month. So people are starting to say, maybe now it's time to get back in the market. You can see why I'm starting to have a good feeling about 2023. It is, however, going to take some time for reality to catch up to the "if it bleeds, it leads" newsrooms. A strong housing market doesn't make good editorial copy, but an out-of-control train wreck of a market going in either direction does. Don't listen to the sensationalists who are only trying to sell headlines. Speak to a local professional who takes time to study the local market and knows what's actually happening. Earlier this week, I took a quick look at house hacking, the art of purchasing a single-family residence and renting out part of it to pay rent, or to pay off the mortgage, This is also known as buying a home and having a roommate. But I digress. I wanted to make sure that I was giving accurate information because even though it may not be for me, it may work for somebody else. So I asked Michelle Ryan with Delsar Mortgage how it would work on a loan. More specifically, could I, or someone else who was potentially interested, use potential rental income from a boarder to help with the income qualification piece? The short answer is no. You're going to have to qualify for the loan on your own. However, if there already was a boarder in place, i.e. you purchased a home from another house hacker, then potentially you could use that income, but it would get messy and complicated. So, much like these rent-to-own companies, house hacking is very much a specific niche and not for everyone. Although if done correctly, it can be a great way to get your foot in the door. That's all for this week. Enjoy this beautiful sunshine, beautiful weather. Have a great day.